Howdy everybody, Michelle here, and thank you, first of all, for being wonderful patrons to me. I can't express enough how much you guys mean to me and how much this motivates me to continue breaking out the doodles that I've had in my tablet for the last couple of years. So this is one of them. It's a very easy 2-row repeat. And the reason why I made this one is because I tend to get very warm when I wear hats. My head gets really warm because I have a lot of hair. So I like hats that are able to breathe a little bit. And this one here, I call this one the open air hat. And as you can see, the laciness in it is really great. I've worn this hat a couple of times when I've gone out and run errands and stuff like that. And I absolutely love it because my head didn't feel like it was sweating or it was really warm. So if you're like me and you tend to get really warm when you wear some hats and you want something a little more breathable, this is going to be it. For this particular one, I used Color Made Easy in Malachite, and I will show you guys how to get this technique using the same type of yarn, just in a different color. So I'm going to move this one out of the way real quick, and let's bring the camera down so you guys can see my loom. There we go. And I wanted to show you on this one, I did it a little bit more slouchy. Normally I go about 8 inches or so, 8.5 at the most, but this one is about 9.5, almost 10, because with my hair, I like to just shove it all in there and wear it comfortably. But with this particular yarn, it is a number 5 bulky, so you will get a nice thick hat, but it's still able to breathe. Okay, that's what I love about this the most. So I'm going to move my camera a little bit right over here so you guys can see. Now, on this loom right now, I only basically have it casted on, and I don't have a brim because I'm just going to show you guys the technique. All right, so I always recommend having a copy of the written pattern to go along with the video and use a video along with the written pattern. Now, obviously, I explain everything in the written pattern to you guys, but I've also created you a little cheat chart on the back. So it has what everything means. Obviously, the blank spots are knit, and then the circles here are yarn over. This is knit 2 together, yarn over SSK, which is basically knit 2 together, but you're going in the opposite direction. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to do that to give you the easiest technique. So that's why I haven't made a brim for this. I'm just going to show you the technique because I know all of you know how to do the yarn over knit 2 together, but some of you may not be familiar with going back. And instead of yarn over, knit 2 together, now we're going to knit 2 together and yarn over based on row 2 here where it says knit 2 together, yarn over. What we're going to be doing is bringing the yarn back and then doing the knit 2 together. So I'm going to give you my little hack. If you've ever done either my Rainier cow or anything else that I've shown this little technique for, then you know exactly what I'm going to do. And this is going to be super easy for you guys. So, like I said, I've already cast it on. I'm not making a brim on this. I'm just showing you guys the technique. So let's play, you know, pretend, kind of like if you've ever watched The Magic Mirror or even Mr. Rogers when you were a kid like me. Let's pretend something's already here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is right here, I have already marked my loom. And what I've done is based on this cheat chart here, you're always going to knit 2 pegs side by side. So we're working in multiples of 4 on this. Okay, so 1 and 2 are always going to be knit, and then 3 and 4 are either going to be yarn over, knit 2 together, or SSK yarn over. And what I've done is, if you can see right here, this one's my starter peg. So my starter peg and the one prior to that going counterclockwise, I have knit on both of those. So a knit, knit, okay? But we're going to work this way. So my starting peg is a knit. Now, the ones on here that are red on top, are these ones in row 1. So this is where we're focusing. So if you want to make a little note on this and write red, so that way if you're working with the video, you know what I'm talking about. And then row 2 is going to be the green ones, and then it just repeats from there. Okay, so I have here on my third peg, I have an arrow. That tells me that I have to yarn that over, move it over to the left, and then a number 2, which means I have to knit those two together. So I have it all the way around on my loom like that. Now let's pretend we've gone all the way around already and we're back at the starting peg. Starting peg is always going to be knit. Now next to that, you'll see I have a number 2 and a yarn over going to the right, and you're going, Michelle, how can you knit 2 together if you haven't moved it over yet? This is where I'm going to help you guys understand this. So what I'm going to do, once you actually make the first round or two, it's perfectly easy from there just to do this without even thinking, really. Okay, so obviously on my starter peg, I'm going to knit, and we're doing true knit or U knit only. No E-wrap on this. Okay, that's something that a lot of people have a tendency to get pretty lazy about, is they want to U knit, or excuse me, they want to E-wrap stuff, and it really doesn't give you the technique that, or the look that you get with this. All right, so you can see where I've knitted areas and where I haven't. Now for this brim, I did a 3-inch U-knit brim, and then I folded it back on and I did a purl. You can use whatever brim that you want. I even put that in the directions for it. Okay, so the very first one, I've knitted that. Now you'll see right here on the next one, this is going to be easy. You guys have probably all done this before. So I'm going to knit that, yarn it over, meaning pick it up off that peg, move it over one. And now on this third one, I have 2 strands, and I'm going to knit those 2 together. So I bring my hook up and under, bring my working yarn in front, and I knit those 2 together. So now my second peg, where the arrow is going to be empty going all the way around. So I'm going to knit, 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 and then yarn over. I have 2, so I'm going to knit those 2 together and just continue all the way around. So it's got knit, knit, and then you're going to yarn over again right here. So I'm going to knit that, I'm going to yarn it over, and I'm going to knit those 2 together. So I'm going to pause the video, go ahead and get all the way around, and then meet me back here at the starting peg. All right, now I'm coming up on my last yarn over here. Grab that, move it over, knit these 2 off, and then I'm going to knit this last one. And as you can see, I'm back at my starter peg. Now that row 1 is done, every peg that has the arrow showing that you have to go left should be empty. Okay, all the way around. Okay, now on row 2, you're looking at this going, okay, Michelle, this is empty, and I'm supposed to knit 2 on this one? Are you crazy, woman? No. Well, yes, but no, I'm not in this sense. Okay. So on row 2, obviously I'm always going to knit my starter pegs. So I'm going to knit that one. Now this one's empty, and I'm supposed to be knitting 2 off here. This is how I do it. So you bring your working yarn in front. You're going to go to the third peg. You're going to knit that off. Then you're going to go to the 4th peg, which is already a knit, and you're going to knit that off. Then you're going to turn around, tug on this a little bit so it pulls your working yarn loose. Tug on this one here, which is the one that you're going to show to move over to this one. Then you're going to move this one over here. And now I have 2 strands on this. But you're sitting there saying to yourself, okay, Michelle, I'm supposed to knit those 2 off. Okay, on this first round, you can't really knit those off, so you're going to knit them off on the third as you're working the same yarn over, knit 2 together, and I'm going to show you. So you're just going to continue all the way around, just like I showed you. You're going to knit that one. I got an empty one here. Bring my working yarn in front, knit off my third one. Sorry, working with my hands around the camera like this, a little difficult. Knit off the next one, which is my first knit. Tug that yarn a little bit, tug it over here, and then you're going to move it over to this one. Okay, so when you're done with this round, you're going to have 2 strands on the ones that say 2, and then the ones that have the arrow showing you move that over are going to be empty. Okay, so I'm going to continue this. I'm going to knit this one, working yarn in front of the empty, knit this one, the first knit one, then I'm going to tug on that, loosen that yarn, tug it on over here, carry it back, yarn over to that first one. Now I have 2 and an empty. Okay, snug it up a little bit, knit, yarn in front, knit, knit, loosen that yarn, tug it, move it over, and just continue that all the way around. So go ahead and continue that until you're back at your starter peg, and then meet me back here. All right, so I'm coming up on my last set here. I am on this empty peg. I'm going to knit this one next to it. There we go. And knit that last peg, tug it, and move it. There. All right, so now for row 2, once it's complete, you'll notice that on the ones where it has in green, it has 2. You'll have 2 strands on every one, and where the arrow is green on mine, however you want to do yours, they're going to be empty. Okay, and it's like that all the way around. Now we just repeat row 1, but we're going to do it a little differently. Okay, so on the starting peg, obviously we're just going to knit that one. Then we're going to knit these 2 together. We have this one that's empty. We're going to yarn in front. We're going to knit this first one that says knit. Now we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to loosen this one. We're going to loosen this one. We're going to loosen this one, and we're going to carry that one over. So basically what you're doing is you're knitting these 2 together basically on row 1, but you're still moving this one over, and then on row 2 you're going to go back. Okay, so I'm going to show you that again. There's one knit, which I already used, second knit right here. Now I have knit 2 together, which I'm going to do that. I'm going to knit those 2 together. And if it's too, make sure that you relax your tension. You don't need it too tight. If it is too tight, do 1 at a time. If it's too difficult for you to do 2 at a time. Now this one's empty. I'm going to yarn in front. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to knit this one. And again, I'm just going to tug a little of that yarn, tug it from here, go to this one, and move that one over. Okay. Have the first one knitted already, so I'm knitting the second. Knit 2 together, empty one. I'm going to yarn in front and knit this first out of the 2 knits. Pull a little of that working yarn, pull it here, and then carry it over. It's that simple. Knit, knit 2 together, knit, and this makes it a whole lot easier because people have a tendency when working with lace where you have to move yarn that their tension is so tight that if you were to do this normally, you would just end up fighting with yourself, breaking pegs, breaking yarn, breaking your hook. This prevents all that. Okay, so knitting that one, tugging, and moving. Okay. So I'm going to continue this all the way around, pause the video, and then I will be back when I'm at my starter peg. All right, and as you can see, I'm coming up on my last set here, so I'm going to knit these 2 together. I have an empty one. I'm bringing my working yarn in front. I'm going to knit this last one. Tug it, move it. There we go. So now we just completed the first round, and you'll see you have an empty on every one that you can see is my red arrow is going to be empty, and next to it is the red number 2, and I have 2 strands on those. Okay, now I'm just going to go to row 2, and I'm basically going to do the same thing, but I'm just going to move it the opposite direction. So I'm going to knit my first one. Here's this empty. Always bring your working yarn in front. Then you're going to grab these 2 strands and knit those off. And again, you can, whoops, hold on, put that one back on. That's an example of sometimes it's too tight and it wants to fight. So I'm going to bring my working yarn in front of the empty, and then I'm going to knit these over one at a time, which is perfectly okay. It's not going to mess you up. All right. So now I'm going to knit one more here. And then what I'm going to do, because I'm on round 2, which is the green one here, this tells me I need to move this one back to this one. And now I have 2, and then I've moved it over. So that's going to be empty. So that's the easiest way to remember. Anytime that you have an arrow, that's always going to be empty. And the one with 2s are always going to have 2 strands on it. And then you just knit off and go the other way, all the way around. Okay, so I'm going to come back here. I'm going to tug, and I'm going to move this over here. Oh, wait, it's the other way. I messed up. See that? I do that too. It's really difficult trying to do this through the eye of the camera with my arms around it, so bear with me. So again, we're working on row 2 on this one, which is the ones I have marked green. This is why having this marked, I use artistic or masking tape on here, so that way I can mark my loom. If I have to get up and walk away, I'll know exactly what I'm working on, because I use my stitch counter also for my rows. So knit this one. Now this one's empty. I'm going to bring my working yarn in front, knit these 2 together, knit that one, then I'm going to come back, tug this, and move it over. Okay, knit this one, bring my working yarn in front, knit these 2 together, knit this one next to it, and then move that working yarn over. And it's that simple. You're just going to repeat this entire process between row 1 and row 2 all the way around, and then you're going to do it to the length that you want. Now, if you're just doing an average adult size hat, you want to go obviously between 8 to 8.5 inches is ideal. If you want it a little slouchy, that's perfectly fine. I do mine between 9.5 and 10 inches. And if you're doing it for somebody that wants one really slouchy, if they possibly have dreadlocks or something like that, they like them super big, just ask them, you know, hey, how big do you want it? So that way you can pretty much do any size that you want on this. And we're going to knit those 2 off. Knit this one, move this over. All right, so I'm going to continue doing this until I get to my starter peg, and then I will meet you guys back here. All right, so now I'm coming up on my last set. As you can see, I have my empty one there. Knit these 2 together, knit this last one, tug, tug, and yarn over, and that's it. You're gonna repeat those 2 things. So now on this one, I just finished row 2. On the ones which I know is my green ones, on the ones that say 2, I should have 2 strands. On the arrows, they should always be empty. Okay, it's like that all the way around, and then you just repeat that. And as you repeat that, as it gets longer, that's when you'll start seeing this effect come into place. So this right here, these 2 are your knits. These are obviously your back and forth with your yarn overs, which is why you have those holes there, makes it lacy. Okay, and then once you get to the length that you want for this particular one. Obviously I have a pom-pom on here, but I just did a simple 4-peg decrease. And to do a 4-peg decrease, you guys are pretty much already familiar with this. So I would knit these 4. This is my starter peg. 1, 2, 3, 4, knit those all off. This last one, the 4th one, once I knitted it, I would take it and move it back to the 3rd, leaving 2 strands on my 3rd, and I would do that all the way around. Then on the next round, obviously your 4th peg is always going to be empty. You're going to knit 3, 1, 2, 3. This one's going to be empty. Then you would take that 3rd one, move it back to the 2nd one. You repeat that all the way around, and then you do it again for the 2nd. So that way, once you have completed all those, every first peg will have 2 strands on it. That's when you grab your needle, thread it, and then bind it off. And you get a really nice crown decrease. It's not bulky or bunchy or anything like that. And for this one, I threw on a little black pom-pom that I had because this color and black is just awesome. Anyway, well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so, so much to all of my patrons that love me enough to support my passion, what I love to do for you guys. It means the world to me, more than you know. So stay tuned for the list of all of your names. And thank you. I can't wait to continue creating more wonderful things for you guys. Love you guys. Happy looming.